My name is Dominic Steele. For most people, that name means nothing. At least, that was exactly what I wanted. The truth was, I was born into one of the most powerful families in America. The Steele family controlled Steele International, a global empire involved in finance, technology, energy, and real estate. My grandfather built the company from nothing. My father expanded it into a billion-dollar corporation, and everyone expected me to inherit everything. But I hated that life. I hated being introduced as the future heir of Steele International. I hated watching people smile at me because of my last name instead of who I was. So at 26, I walked away. I changed my lifestyle, hid my identity, and built a small investment company under my own name. No assistants, no family connections, no special treatment. I wanted to know if someone could love Dominic Steele, not the Steele fortune behind him. That was when I met Evelyn Sterling. And she was the biggest mistake of my life. Or maybe, she was the only person I ever truly loved. The first time I saw Evelyn, she was standing in the middle of a conference room, arguing with 10 executives twice her age. She was 30 years old, the CEO of Sterling Group, and already one of the most respected businesswomen in the country. Everyone in that room was afraid of her. Everyone except me. She looked at a financial report in her hand and said coldly, "This proposal is garbage." One of the executives immediately stood up. "Miss Sterling, that project has been reviewed by several experts." Evelyn didn't even look at him. "Then those experts should find new jobs." The room became silent. I couldn't help laughing. Everyone turned toward me. Evelyn looked at me with a cold expression. "Mr. Steele, did you find something funny?" I leaned back in my chair. "Honestly, yes." Her eyes narrowed. "Care to explain?" I smiled. "You just insulted 10 people in less than 30 seconds. I was impressed. Nobody dared to speak. But Evelyn surprised me. Instead of getting angry, she looked at me for a few seconds and asked, "Are you always this confident?" "Only when I'm right." "And what if you're wrong?" "Then I apologize." She stared at me. For the first time, I saw something different in her eyes. Not anger. Curiosity. That was the beginning. Evelyn Sterling was not easy to approach. She didn't believe in romantic gestures. She didn't care about expensive gifts. She didn't like men trying to impress her. When I sent her flowers, she returned them. When I invited her to dinner, she refused. When I told her I wanted to know her better, she simply said, "I don't have time for relationships." Most men would have given up. I didn't. Not because I thought I could change her. Because I wanted to understand her. I wanted to know why someone who had everything looked so lonely. After 6 months, she finally agreed to have dinner with me. It wasn't romantic. It wasn't a fancy restaurant. It was a small Italian place downtown. She arrived 20 minutes late. She sat down and immediately opened her laptop. I looked at her. "Are you planning to negotiate a business deal during dinner?" She didn't look up. "I have work." "You always have work." "Yes." "That sounds exhausting." "It's called responsibility." I smiled. "You know, most people eat dinner without checking stock prices. Most people aren't running a company. And most CEOs don't look like they haven't slept in 3 days." That finally made her look at me. "You're criticizing me?" "No." I paused. "I'm worried about you." For some reason, those words changed her expression. Just for a second. But I noticed. Evelyn Sterling was a woman who accepted criticism from anyone. But she didn't know how to accept concern. That was when I realized something. Behind the perfect CEO image was someone who had spent her entire life convincing herself she didn't need anyone. A year later, Evelyn became my wife. People were shocked, especially her family. They couldn't understand why the coldest woman in the business world would marry someone like me. Someone who didn't come from a famous company. Someone who didn't appear to have billions behind him. At our wedding, Evelyn's father pulled me aside. His name was Richard Sterling. He looked at me seriously. "I don't know what you see in my daughter." I smiled. "I see the person everyone else refuses to see." He frowned. "What does that mean?" "It means everyone sees Evelyn Sterling, the CEO." I looked toward my wife. "I see Evelyn." Richard was silent for a moment. Then he said, "Just don't hurt her." I nodded. "I won't." I meant every word. At that time, I believed I would spend the rest of my life protecting her. I was wrong. Because the person who destroyed me was the woman I promised to protect. The first year of marriage was good. Not perfect, but good. Evelyn was still busy. She still worked late. She still forgot anniversaries. But she tried. At least, I thought she did. She would sometimes come home after midnight and quietly sit beside me. She would say, "Are you still awake?" And I would answer, "I was waiting for you." She would roll her eyes. "You shouldn't do that." "Why?" "Because you'll get disappointed." I would laugh. "You really don't know how loved you are, do you?" She never answered. I thought she was just not good at expressing emotions. I thought she needed time. I was willing to wait. 3 years passed. Then everything changed. His name was Adrian Cole. Adrian was not supposed to matter. At least, that was what I told myself. He was married to Evelyn's younger half-sister, Madison. He wasn't from a wealthy family. He didn't own a major company. He didn't have any impressive achievements. But he was charming. Too charming. The first time I met him, he shook my hand and smiled. "Dominic, I've heard a lot about you." I smiled back. "Hopefully good things." He laughed. "Of course." But his eyes told me something different. They were studying me, measuring me, like he was trying to figure out what I was hiding. That should have been my warning. But I ignored it, because I trusted my wife. The changes started slowly. Evelyn began defending Adrian more often. At first, it was small things. During family dinners, she would interrupt when someone criticized him. Adrian isn't that kind of person. When he made business mistakes, she helped him. When he had problems, she answered his calls immediately. But when I needed her, she was always busy. One night, I came home after waiting for her for hours. She finally walked through the door. I looked at the clock. It was almost 1 a.m. "You said you would be home at 9. She removed her coat. "I had something important." I looked at her. "More important than dinner with your husband?" She sighed. "Dominic, don't start." "Don't start what?" "This." She looked frustrated. "You always make everything emotional." I stared at her. "Because I care. And Adrian needed my help." The moment she said his name, I noticed something. Her tone changed. She sounded protective. I asked quietly, "Why do you always choose him?" Her expression became cold. "Because he needs help. And I don't." "You're an adult, Dominic." That sentence hurt more than I expected. Because for the first time, I understood. In Evelyn's eyes, I was not someone she needed. I was someone she assumed would always stay. The breaking point came at the Sterling family anniversary dinner. Everyone important from the family was there. Executives, investors, relatives, and Adrian. During dinner, Adrian suddenly stood up. "I need to apologize." Everyone looked at him. Evelyn immediately asked, "What happened?" He lowered his head. "There was a problem with the charity account." Richard Sterling's face changed. "What kind of problem?" Adrian looked uncomfortable. "I may have made a mistake." Before anyone could respond, Evelyn spoke. "I'll handle it." I looked at her. "Handle it?" She nodded. "Don't make this worse." I frowned. "What does that mean?" Adrian suddenly said, "It's my fault. Dominic had warned me before, but I didn't listen." I turned toward him. "What?" Everyone looked at me. Adrian continued. "He told me I wasn't qualified to manage the project." I immediately understood. He was setting me up. I looked at Evelyn. "Do you believe him?" She didn't answer. That silence hurt. "Evelyn." Finally, she said, "Dominic, why do you always have to compete with everyone?" I almost laughed. "Compete?" I pointed at Adrian. "He just blamed me for something I didn't do." Adrian looked hurt. "I didn't blame you." "Yes, you did." "Enough." Evelyn's voice stopped everyone. Then she looked at me. "Why can't you just admit when you're wrong?" That moment changed something inside me. Because I realized she wasn't asking for the truth. She had already chosen a side. I looked at my wife, the woman I loved, the woman I married, and I asked, "Do you really think I would do this?" She looked away. That was her answer. That night, I drove home alone. I didn't call her. I didn't argue. I didn't ask for explanations. For 3 years, I had been trying to prove that I deserved her love. But that night, I finally understood something. Love shouldn't feel like a trial where you're always trying to prove your innocence. I arrived home and opened the safe hidden behind my office wall. Inside were documents I had never shown anyone. My real identity, my family records, my ownership of Steel International, everything I had hidden, everything I had given up. I looked at my own name on the documents. Dominic Steele. The heir everyone thought disappeared. I whispered, "I guess it's time to come back." Because Evelyn Sterling had forgotten one thing. She thought she married an ordinary man. She thought she could lose me and nothing would change. But she never knew the truth. The man she pushed away was the man who could destroy everything she built. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was angry. Not because I wanted revenge. but because I was trying to understand how the woman I loved could look at me like I was a stranger. For 3 years, I had convinced myself that Evelyn was just cold, that she didn't know how to express love, that her career had made her guarded. I created excuses for her, every single time. But that night, I finally admitted the truth. Evelyn Sterling didn't choose me. She chose the person she thought I was useful to her. And somehow, I had been the last person to realize it. The next morning, Evelyn came home. I was sitting in my office. She stopped at the door. "You're still awake?" I looked at her. "I could ask you the same thing." She ignored my comment and walked inside. "We need to talk about last night." I smiled. "About what?" Her eyebrows moved slightly. "Dominic." "No, I'm serious. What are we talking about?" She looked annoyed. "Your attitude." "My attitude?" "Yes." I stood up. "You think my attitude is the problem?" She crossed her arms. "You embarrassed Adrian in front of my family." I stared at her. "Your family? What?" "You didn't say I embarrassed your sister's husband. You said I embarrassed Adrian." She became quiet. I continued. "Do you even hear yourself, Evelyn? Every time he makes a mistake, you find a reason. And every time I say something, I become the problem." Her expression changed. "You're being unfair." I laughed softly. "Unfair?" "Yes." She stepped closer. "Adrian made a mistake. He admitted it. He didn't try to hurt anyone. And you believe him?" "Yes." The answer came too quickly. That hurt more than I expected. I looked at her. "Why?" She frowned. "Why what? Why do you trust him more than me?" For a few seconds, she didn't answer. Then she said, "Because Adrian has always been honest with me." I felt something break inside. "Are you saying I haven't?" She looked away. "I'm saying you hide things." I froze. Because she was right. I had hidden my identity. But not because I wanted to deceive her. I wanted to know if she loved me without my family name. I wanted to tell her eventually. I just never expected that when the truth came out, it would be because she pushed me so far away. "You don't understand why I did that." "Then explain." I opened my mouth. But I stopped. Because suddenly, I realized something. Even if I told her everything, would she believe me? Or would she think I was just trying to win an argument? I sat back down. "Forget it." Her expression became colder. "That's your problem, Dominic. You always give up when things get difficult." I looked at her. "No, Evelyn. I only give up when I realize I'm the only one fighting." 2 weeks later, the Sterling family held an emergency meeting. The reason? Adrian. His mistake with the charity account became a much bigger problem than anyone expected. Millions of dollars were missing from the project. The Sterling board was furious. Richard Sterling slammed a report onto the table. Who approved these transfers? Nobody answered. I looked around the room. Everyone knew the answer. Adrian. But nobody wanted to say it. Finally, one board member spoke. Mr. Cole was responsible for the project. Richard looked at Evelyn. "What do you suggest?" Before she could answer, Adrian spoke. "I'll take responsibility." Everyone looked at him. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was obvious. He wanted to appear noble. Evelyn immediately looked worried. "No." Adrian shook his head. "No, Evelyn. It was my mistake. You don't have to do this." I should. That conversation lasted less than 10 seconds. But I saw everything. The way she looked at him. The way she cared. The way she protected him. I had never seen that expression directed at me. Richard turned toward me. "Dominic." I looked at him. "Yes? You were involved in this project, weren't you?" I frowned. "No." Adrian suddenly interrupted. "Actually, Dominic gave me some advice." I looked at him. "What advice?" He hesitated. "Just enough. Enough to make people suspicious. I don't remember the exact words." I smiled. "Convenient." Evelyn immediately said, "Dominic." "What?" "Don't make this worse." I stared at her. "You're serious?" "Yes." "You think I'm making this worse?" She lowered her voice. "We can talk later." "No." Everyone became silent. "I'm tired of talking later." I looked directly at Adrian. "You're blaming me." He shook his head. "I never said that. You didn't have to." I pointed at the report. "You made the decision. You signed the documents." His expression changed. "I thought you supported the plan." "I told you the plan was risky." "Yes." "And you ignored me." He looked at Evelyn. Maybe Dominic misunderstood. That was the moment I knew. He wasn't just lying. He was controlling the situation. And Evelyn was letting him. After the meeting, Evelyn followed me. "Dominic, wait." I stopped. "What?" She looked frustrated. "You shouldn't have talked to Adrian like that." I stared at her. You're worried about how I talk to him? He's under pressure. So am I. You're not the one facing the board. I laughed. You're right. I looked at her. I'm just the one you're willing to sacrifice. Her face changed. That's not fair. Then tell me what is fair. She stayed silent. I stepped closer. Is it fair that I'm blamed for his mistakes? No. Is it fair that you believe him before asking me? She didn't answer. Is it fair that my wife stands beside another man every time I need her? Dominic. No. I shook my head. I want you to answer one question. She looked at me. What? If Adrian and I both needed you tomorrow. I paused. Who would you choose? Her silence was louder than any answer. I nodded. Exactly. 3 days later, everything collapsed. I received a call from my lawyer. Dominic, you need to come immediately. His voice was serious. What happened? There's a legal complaint against you. I frowned. From who? Sterling Group. For a moment, I thought I misunderstood. What? They claim you interfered with company operations and caused financial damage. I stood still. Who filed it? He didn't answer immediately. Then he said, Evelyn Sterling. I couldn't speak. My own wife. The woman I protected. The woman I loved. She was the one who decided to attack me. That evening, I confronted her. She was in her office when I walked in. She looked surprised. You're here. I placed the legal documents on her desk. Why? She looked at the papers. Then looked at me. Dominic. No. My voice was calm. Just answer. She took a breath. I didn't want it to happen this way. I smiled. But you made it happen. This is temporary. Temporary? Yes. She walked toward me. I need to protect the company. I looked at her. No. I shook my head. You need to protect Adrian. Her eyes changed. That's not true. Then why am I the one being investigated? Silence. I nodded. I see. Dominic, please understand. No. I stepped back. I understand perfectly. She looked hurt. You think I don't care about you? I stared at her. I think you care. She looked surprised. But not enough. That night, I returned home alone. I packed a small bag. Not because I had nowhere to go. Because I finally understood something. I had spent 3 years trying to become the man Evelyn wanted. But she never wanted Dominic Steele. She wanted someone who would stand behind her. Someone who would accept being second. Someone who would never challenge her choices. That person was gone. I took out my phone and called my grandfather. He answered immediately. Dominic. I hadn't spoken to him in years. Grandpa. There was silence. Then he asked, did something happen? I looked at the documents in front of me. Yes. Are you ready to come home? I closed my eyes. For 3 years, I had avoided that question. Now, I finally had an answer. Yes. A long silence followed. Then my grandfather said, good. Because Steel International has been waiting for its heir. I ended the call. For the first time in years. I felt like myself again. But I knew one thing. Evelyn still had no idea what she had done. She thought she was destroying an ordinary husband. She didn't know she had just awakened Dominic Steele, the man who could take everything away from her. For 3 years, I lived as Dominic Steele. Not the heir. Not the billionaire. Not the man whose name could shake the entire business world. Just Dominic. A husband. A man who loved his wife. A man who believed love was more valuable than money. I gave up everything that came with my family name because I wanted something real. But Evelyn Sterling proved something to me. Sometimes people don't love you. They love the version of you that benefits them. And when that version disappears, so does their love. The morning after I called my grandfather, I received a message from Evelyn. We need to talk. I stared at those 4 words for almost a minute. 3 years ago, I would have immediately gone to her. No matter what happened, no matter how much she hurt me, I would always choose her. But this time, I didn't reply. 10 minutes later, another message appeared. Dominic, this is important. I looked at my phone. Then I placed it face down. For the first time in 3 years, I ignored Evelyn Sterling. My lawyer, Michael Carter, arrived at my apartment that afternoon. Michael had worked for my family for more than 20 years. He was one of the few people who knew my real identity. The moment he walked inside, he looked around. Then he shook his head. You really lived like this? I smiled. You sound disappointed. I'm not disappointed. He put a folder on the table. I'm confused. About what? He looked at me. You own private companies worth billions. You have access to resources most people can only dream of. He paused. And you chose to live in a small apartment and let your wife treat you like a nobody. I didn't answer. Because I knew he was right. Michael sighed. Dominic, I need to ask you something. What? Did she know? I looked at him. Know what? That you are the heir of Steel International. I shook my head. No. Why? Because I wanted her to love me. That was the answer. But I didn't say it. I just said, because I wanted to know if she loved Dominic. Michael looked at me for a long time. Then he said, and now? I looked out the window. Now I know. That afternoon, I officially returned to Steel International. The moment I walked into the headquarters, everything changed. Executives who had only known me as a rumor suddenly stood up. The chairman's assistant announced, "Everyone, this is Dominic Steele." The room went silent. Not because they didn't know my name, because they finally understood what my name meant. One executive stepped forward. "Mr. Steele, we were told you were no longer interested in the company." I looked at him. I wasn't. He looked confused. "Then why are you back?" I answered simply, "Because someone reminded me that power matters." Nobody asked who. They didn't need to. Meanwhile, Evelyn had no idea what was happening. At least, not yet. She was too busy protecting Adrian. That evening, I received a call from an unknown number. I answered. "Hello?" A familiar voice came through. "Dominic." I immediately recognized it. "Adrian Cole." I almost laughed. "You called me?" "Yes." "Why?" There was a short pause. Then he said, "I heard about the legal complaint." And I wanted to explain. I smiled. "Explain what?" "That I never wanted things to go this far." I leaned back. "Really?" "Yes." "Then why did you let Evelyn file the complaint?" Silence. That silence told me everything. I continued. "You knew." "Dominic." "No." My voice became colder. "You knew exactly what she was doing." Adrian sighed. "You don't understand the situation." "Then explain it." He didn't answer. So I said, "I'll make it easy for you. You needed someone to blame. You needed someone the Sterling family wouldn't protect. And you chose me." His voice became defensive. "That's not true." "Then why me?" Again, silence. I laughed. "You know what's funny, Adrian?" "What?" "For a man who claims he did nothing wrong, you spend a lot of time avoiding simple questions." He became quiet. Then he said, "You should be careful, Dominic." I narrowed my eyes. "Is that a threat?" "No." A pause. "It's advice." I smiled. "Thank you." "For what?" "For confirming exactly who you are." The next day, I met with my grandfather, Charles Steele, the man who built the Steel Empire. He looked older than I remembered, but his eyes were still sharp. He studied me. "You look different." I smiled. "I grew up." He nodded. "No." He corrected me. "You got hurt." I didn't respond. My grandfather knew me too well. He poured coffee and asked, "Tell me about her." I looked at him. "Who?" "Your wife." I was silent. Then I said, "She was everything I wanted." "And now?" I looked down. "Now I realize I only knew the person I wanted her to be." My grandfather sighed. "Are you here because you want revenge?" I thought about it. "No." "Then why?" "Because I want the truth." He looked at me. "What truth?" "Whether I lost a marriage." I paused. "Or whether I was never truly in one." 2 days later, the news broke. Steel International Air returns after years of absence. The entire business world exploded. Investors, media, competitors. Everyone wanted to know why Dominic Steele had returned. And most importantly, why he had hidden his identity. Evelyn found out during a board meeting. Her assistant rushed into the room. "Ms. Sterling." Evelyn looked annoyed. "What happened?" The assistant handed her a tablet. She read the headline. Her expression changed instantly. Dominic Steele revealed as hidden heir of Steel International. For several seconds, she didn't move. Then she whispered, "No." Her assistant looked confused. "Is something wrong?" Evelyn didn't answer. Because suddenly everything made sense. The way Dominic handled business. The confidence. The knowledge. The calmness. All the things she thought were arrogance were not arrogance. They were experience. That night, Evelyn came to find me. I was in the Steel International office. When she walked in, she looked different. Not angry. Not cold. Confused. "Dominic." I didn't look up from my documents. "Yes?" She stared at me. "You're a Steele." I continued reading. "Yes." "You knew all along." "Yes." Her voice became softer. "Why didn't you tell me?" I finally looked at her. The woman standing in front of me was the same woman I married. But somehow, she felt like a stranger. "You never asked." "That's not fair." I smiled. "Fair?" She looked away. "I thought I knew you." I nodded. "That was the problem." "What does that mean?" It means you love the version of me that you created. She looked hurt. That's not true. Then answer me. I stood up. When you thought I was just Dominic, did you respect me? She opened her mouth. Nothing came out. I continued. Did you trust my judgment? Silence. Did you stand beside me when everyone doubted me? She lowered her eyes. I nodded. Exactly. She stepped closer. Dominic, I made mistakes. I looked at her. Yes. I want to fix them. I almost laughed. Fix them? Yes. Evelyn. My voice was calm. You don't fix betrayal with an apology. Her eyes became red. I never betrayed you. I looked at her. Then what do you call choosing another man over your husband? She froze. Because she knew. She knew exactly what I meant. Before she left, she turned around. Is this what you wanted? I frowned. What? To make me regret everything? I looked at her. No. She seemed surprised. Then what? I answered. I wanted you to see me. A pause. But you only saw me after you lost me. She stood there silently. Then she walked away. That night, I received another message. From Adrian. We need to meet. Alone. Asterisk asterisk. I deleted it. Then another message arrived. You should know the truth about Evelyn. I stopped. For the first time, Adrian had my attention. Because there was one thing I still didn't understand. Why did Evelyn choose him? Why did she protect him so desperately? And what exactly happened before I entered her life? I looked at the message. Then I replied. Tomorrow. 8 p.m. Asterisk asterisk. Because if Adrian wanted to tell me the truth, I was ready to hear it. But he wasn't prepared for something. I was no longer the man who begged for answers. I was Dominic Steele. And this time, I was the one asking the questions. I used to believe the worst thing Evelyn Sterling could do was stop loving me. I was wrong. The worst thing she could do was believe I was capable of hurting her. After 3 years of marriage, after everything we had been through, after every night I stayed awake waiting for her to come home, she chose to believe a man who entered her life only recently. And she chose to doubt the man who had stood beside her from the beginning. But what hurt the most wasn't that she trusted Adrian. It was that she never even asked me the truth. She made her decision before hearing my side. The meeting with Adrian was scheduled for 8 in the evening. I arrived early. Not because I was nervous. Because I wanted to see what kind of person he really was when Evelyn wasn't around. For 3 years, Adrian Cole had played the role of the harmless man, the struggling businessman, the person who always needed help. But I knew better now. People who constantly act weak are sometimes the most dangerous. 5 minutes later, Adrian walked in. He smiled when he saw me. Dominic. I didn't stand up. Adrian. He sat across from me. For a few seconds, neither of us spoke. Then he smiled. You look different. I raised an eyebrow. Different? Yes. He looked around. The old Dominic would have been angry. And the new Dominic? He smiled. The new Dominic looks like someone who finally knows his worth. I stared at him. You wanted to talk. So talk. Adrian leaned back. You want to know why Evelyn chose me? I didn't answer. He continued. Because she loved me before she met you. I remained silent. But inside, something tightened. Adrian noticed. He smiled. There it is. What? The reaction I expected. I looked at him. Keep talking. He laughed softly. You really don't know, do you? Know what? Evelyn and I met years before you. I frowned. That's impossible. Why? Because you were married to Madison. Adrian smiled. People can have history before marriage, Dominic. I said nothing. He continued. Before you came into her life, Evelyn and I were close. How close? He looked directly at me. Close enough that she trusted me. I clenched my jaw. And she doesn't trust me? He smiled. She trusts you differently. What does that mean? It means she sees you as someone she can control. That sentence made me angry, but I didn't show it. Adrian continued. You were perfect for her. Perfect? Yes. You had no business connections, no family pressure, no competition. He smiled. You were someone who would always stand behind her. I looked at him. You think that's why she married me? I know it is. I didn't believe him. Not completely. Because I knew Evelyn. At least, I thought I did. But then he said something that made me freeze. She told me once that marrying you was the easiest decision she ever made. My expression changed. When? Before your wedding. I stared at him. That's a lie. Is it? He smiled. Ask her. I left without saying another word. Not because I believed everything Adrian said, but because I needed to know. I needed to hear Evelyn's answer. When I arrived at Sterling Group the next day, Evelyn was already waiting. She looked tired. More tired than I had ever seen her. You talked to Adrian. It wasn't a question. I looked at her. Yes. Her expression changed. What did he tell you? I smiled slightly. That's interesting. What? You're not asking if he lied. She became quiet. You're asking what he said. Her eyes moved away. That told me enough. I walked closer. Did you love him? Dominic. Answer me. She took a breath. It's complicated. I laughed. Complicated? Yes. Everything with you is complicated. I looked at her. But everything with me was simple, right? She frowned. What do you mean? You never had to wonder if I loved you. She didn't respond. Because I showed you every day. My voice became lower. But you never did the same. That's not true. Then tell me. I stepped closer. Tell me one time you chose me when it mattered. Silence. I nodded. That's what I thought. Her expression changed. Dominic, I know I hurt you. No. I shook my head. You don't. I do. No, Evelyn. I looked at her. You know I'm upset. You know I'm angry. But you don't understand why. She stared at me. I continued. I didn't need you to protect me. I didn't need you to fight everyone for me. I just needed you to believe me. Her eyes softened for a moment. Then her phone rang. She looked at the screen. Adrian. And once again, she chose him. She answered immediately. Adrian. I watched her expression change. Concern. Worry. The same emotions I had begged for. She turned away from me. What happened? I didn't hear his response. But I didn't need to. I already knew. After 3 years, I finally understood. Some people don't leave you because they hate you. They leave you because someone else becomes more important. That afternoon, something happened that changed everything. Adrian was hospitalized. The reason? Poisoning. And somehow, my name appeared in the investigation. The police arrived at my apartment that evening. 2 officers stood outside my door. Mr. Steele? Yes. One officer showed me his badge. We need you to come with us. I frowned. Why? There was an incident involving Mr. Adrian Cole. I already knew. What happened? The officer hesitated. Mr. Cole was poisoned. I stared at him. And why are you here? The second officer answered. Your name came up during the investigation. I almost laughed. You think I poisoned him? We're not making accusations. Really? I looked at the paperwork. Then why are you here? Neither officer answered. Because we all knew. Someone wanted me to look guilty. At the police station, I waited for hours. Then the door opened. Evelyn walked in. For 1 second, I thought she came to help me. I was wrong. She looked at me with disappointment. Not fear. Not concern. Disappointment. Dominic. I stood up. Why are you here? She looked at the officer. Then back at me. I'm the one who reported the situation. The words hit harder than I expected. I stared at her. You called them? Yes. Your husband? She looked away. I had no choice. I smiled. No choice. Adrian is in critical condition. And you think I did it? I don't know. That answer hurt more than anything. I stepped closer. You don't know? She looked at me. There is evidence. What evidence? She hesitated. Then said, your fingerprints were found on the bottle. I froze. Because I knew that was impossible. I never touched that bottle. She looked at me. Dominic. No. My voice became cold. You already decided. I'm trying to find the truth. No. I shook my head. You're trying to find proof that matches what you believe. She became silent. The officer returned. Mr. Steele, we need to continue the investigation. Before I left, I looked at Evelyn one last time. I waited. I don't know what I expected. Maybe an apology. Maybe doubt. Maybe a simple sentence. I believe you. But she said nothing. So I nodded and walked away. 3 hours later, my lawyer arrived. Michael Carter. The moment he saw me, his expression changed. They arrested you? I nodded. He looked furious. Dominic, this is beyond personal now. I know. He opened his briefcase. I checked the evidence. And he looked at me. Someone deliberately framed you. I wasn't surprised. Who? Michael was silent. Then he said, Adrian Cole. I smiled. I know. Michael frowned. You're not angry? I looked at him. No. Why? Because he made one mistake. What mistake? He forgot who he was fighting. The next morning, Michael placed a document in front of me. Dominic. I looked at him. What is this? Your official authorization. For what? To activate your position as chairman of Steel International. I stared at the paper. For 3 years, I avoided this. For 3 years, I wanted to be loved as an ordinary man. But Evelyn destroyed that dream. I signed the document. Then I looked at Michael. Release everything. He nodded. Are you sure? Yes. What about Evelyn? I paused. For a moment, I remembered our wedding. Her smile. Her promise. Everything we used to be. Then I looked at the documents in my hand. She made her choice. I closed the folder. Now she gets to see mine. That night, every major financial network received the same announcement. Dominic Steele, the missing heir of Steele International, officially returns as chairman. The business world exploded. And somewhere in the middle of it all, Evelyn Sterling finally discovered the truth. The man she accused, the man she abandoned, the man she allowed others to destroy, was the same man who could bring her entire empire to its knees. But by the time she realized who I was, it was already too late. The world changed overnight. For 3 years, I was known as Dominic Steele's nobody, the husband of Evelyn Sterling, the man who stood behind a powerful woman, the man people whispered about because they couldn't understand why someone like Evelyn would marry someone like me. They thought I was lucky. They thought I had married above my position. They were wrong. Because the truth was, I had been hiding beneath my own name. And now, I was done hiding. The morning after my identity was revealed, my phone never stopped ringing. News channels, business partners, old acquaintances, people who had ignored me for years suddenly remembered my number. I ignored all of them. The only call I answered was from my grandfather. Dominic. Yes? You understand what happens next? I looked at the financial reports in front of me. Yes. You are no longer just a man dealing with a personal problem. I know. Every decision you make will affect thousands of employees. I stayed silent. My grandfather continued. Are you returning because you want to rebuild Steele International? I thought about it. Then I answered. Yes. Not because of Evelyn. I looked at the wedding ring still sitting on my desk. A ring I hadn't taken off yet. No. A pause. Good. My grandfather's voice became serious. Because revenge makes people careless. I smiled. I'm not looking for revenge. Then what are you looking for? I looked at my reflection. The truth. That afternoon, I officially entered Steele International headquarters as chairman. The same building where my father once worked. The same company everyone expected me to inherit. But this time, I wasn't walking in as Dominic, the forgotten son. I was Dominic Steele, the rightful owner. The employees stood as I entered the conference room. Some looked surprised. Some looked nervous. One senior executive, James Anderson, stepped forward. Mr. Steele. I nodded. James. He looked shocked. You remember me? I smiled. My father trusted you. His expression softened. I never thought you would come back. Neither did I. The room became quiet. I looked at everyone. I know there are rumors. Nobody spoke. I know people are wondering why I disappeared. I paused. The answer is simple. I wanted to know who respected Dominic Steele without knowing he was a Steele. Nobody moved. And I learned something important. I looked around the room. Money can buy loyalty, but it can't buy love. Meanwhile, Evelyn was dealing with the consequences. When she arrived at Sterling Group that morning, the atmosphere had completely changed. Employees who once greeted her confidently were now whispering. Investors were calling. The board was demanding answers. Her assistant, Olivia, walked into her office. Ms. Sterling. Evelyn looked up. Yes? The board meeting has been moved forward. Why? Olivia hesitated. Because of Steele International. Evelyn's expression changed. Of course. She knew. Everyone knew. The partnership between Sterling Group and Steele International had been one of the biggest reasons Sterling Group grew so quickly. And now, that support was gone. The emergency board meeting lasted less than an hour. The result was clear. Sterling Group's investors were losing confidence. One board member said, "We need to know if Steele International will continue working with us." Evelyn looked at him. "I'll handle Dominic." Another executive frowned. "Can you?" The question annoyed her. "Excuse me?" The executive looked at the documents. "Mrs. Sterling, you filed a legal complaint against him." Silence. "You accused him of poisoning Adrian Cole." Evelyn's face became tense. "We were investigating. But now we know Dominic Steele is not the person we thought he was." The executive paused. "He has more power than this company." Evelyn clenched her hand. Dominic wouldn't destroy Sterling Group. Nobody answered. Because nobody knew if that was true anymore. That night, Evelyn came to see me again. This time, she didn't walk in with anger. She walked in with uncertainty. I was reviewing documents when she entered. "Dominic." I didn't look up. "Evelyn." She stood there quietly. That alone surprised me. Usually, she always had something to say. An explanation. A reason. A decision. But now, she seemed unsure. I heard you activated your position. Yes. You really planned this? I looked at her. Planned what? Leaving. I smiled slightly. No. I closed the folder. I didn't plan to leave. Then why? Because you made staying impossible. She looked hurt. I never wanted to hurt you. I stared at her. But you did. I made mistakes. Yes. She took a breath. I want to fix them. I leaned back. Why? The question surprised her. What? Why do you want to fix them now? Because I realized what I lost. I looked at her. That's exactly the problem. She frowned. What do you mean? You don't miss me. Her eyes changed. That's not true. You miss what I represented. That's unfair. No. I shook my head. It's honest. She stepped closer. Dominic, I didn't know. Know what? That you were. She struggled to say it. A billionaire. I smiled. There it is. What? The thing everyone cares about. Her expression changed. I'm not like that. Really? Yes. Then answer one question. She looked at me. What? If I was still the same man you thought I was. I paused. Would you be here? She opened her mouth. But no answer came. That silence told me everything. The next day, Adrian contacted me. I expected him. Men like him always appear when they realize they are losing control. He came into my office wearing the same confident smile. But this time, it looked forced. Dominic. I didn't offer him a seat. What do you want? He looked around. This is impressive. I ignored the comment. You have 5 minutes. His smile disappeared slightly. You're angry? No. I looked at him. I'm disappointed. That seemed to bother him more. Why? Because I thought you were smarter. He frowned. What? You manipulated Evelyn. I didn't. You used her emotions. His expression became cold. You think you know everything? No. I stepped closer. But I know enough. He laughed. You really think Evelyn chose you? I didn't answer. He continued. She chose me because she understood me. I smiled. Is that what you tell yourself? His face darkened. You don't understand her. Maybe. I nodded. But I understand you. He stared at me. You're scared. His expression changed. Of what? That Evelyn will realize she made the wrong choice. Adrian stood up. You think you won? No. I looked at him. I think you lost. He laughed. You have money now. No. I shook my head. I always had money. I walked toward him. The difference is, I no longer care who knows. That evening, Michael brought me the final investigation report. The poisoning case. The evidence. The timeline. Everything. And there it was. The proof. Adrian had planned everything. He had manipulated security footage. He had transferred information. He had even arranged for my fingerprints to appear. But there was something else. Something I didn't expect. A message from Adrian to Evelyn. Before the police investigation. Don't worry. Dominic will take the blame. He always protects you. Asterisk asterisk. I stared at the screen. For a long time. Then I asked, does Evelyn know about this message? Michael shook his head. No. I closed my eyes. For years, I wanted Evelyn to see the truth. Now the truth was right in front of her. But I didn't know if I wanted her to see it anymore. The next morning, Evelyn received the evidence. Not from me. From her own legal team. She read the message. Then another. Then another. Her face became pale. For the first time, she understood. Adrian never needed protection. He needed a sacrifice. And she had chosen me. She came to my office that afternoon. But this time, she wasn't defending Adrian. She wasn't angry. She wasn't confident. She looked broken. Dominic. I looked up. What happened? Her eyes were filled with regret. I was wrong. I said nothing. I was completely wrong. Still, I said nothing. She walked closer. Adrian lied to me. I nodded. Yes. You knew? Yes. Why didn't you tell me? I looked at her. Would you have believed me? She froze. Because she knew the answer. No. My voice was quiet. You wouldn't. She wiped away her tears. I'm sorry. 3 words. The words I wanted to hear for so long. But now, they meant nothing. I had waited too long. I loved you, Evelyn. Her eyes filled with tears. I know. No. I shook my head. You don't. I stood up. You know I loved you. But you don't know what it felt like to love someone who never chose you. She looked down. I want another chance. I stared at her. The man who wanted that chance. I paused. He disappeared the day you called the police. She left without another word. And for the first time, I didn't feel pain watching her walk away. Only peace. Because I finally understood. Losing Evelyn Sterling was not the end of my life. It was the beginning of my return. The world knew my name now. The business world knew my power. And Evelyn finally knew the truth. But there was one thing she didn't understand yet. The hardest part was not losing me. The hardest part was watching me move on without her. For years, I thought the most painful thing in the world was losing Evelyn Sterling. I was wrong. The most painful thing was watching her finally understand my value. Only after she destroyed everything we had. People often say they regret the things they did. But regret is easy. Regret comes after the damage is already done. And once something is broken, an apology doesn't magically put it back together. After Adrian's betrayal was exposed, everything changed. The investigation was reopened. The evidence that had once pointed toward me was now being reviewed. The same people who questioned me suddenly changed their attitude. The same people who doubted me suddenly wanted to explain themselves. But I didn't care anymore. Because I had already learned the truth. People respected power. They respected money. They respected the Steele name. But very few people respected Dominic. And Evelyn had been one of those few people I hoped would. She wasn't. Adrian Cole was arrested 3 days later. The evidence against him was overwhelming. Fraud, manipulation, evidence tampering, attempted framing. The man who spent months pretending to be helpless finally showed everyone who he really was. But before his arrest, he requested to see me. I almost refused. Almost. But I decided to go. Not because I wanted to hear his excuses. Because I wanted to see if he understood what he had lost. Adrian sat across from me. For the first time, he didn't look confident. No smile. No fake kindness. No carefully prepared words. Just a man who knew he had lost. You came. I looked at him. You asked. He laughed quietly. You're really different now. No. I shook my head. I'm the same. He frowned. No, you're not. I looked at him. The difference is, before, I cared what you thought. That sentence made him silent. After a moment, he said, You think you won? I didn't answer. He continued. You have the company. You have the money. You have everything. He smiled bitterly. But you still lost Evelyn. I looked at him calmly. No. He raised his eyebrows. No. I lost the woman I thought Evelyn was. I paused. But I never lost someone who truly loved me. Adrian looked away. Because he knew. Even he understood that. Before I left, Adrian said, Do you know the worst part? I stopped. What? She really loved you. I turned back. He laughed. Not enough. Those 2 words stayed in my mind. Not enough. That was exactly the problem. Love that comes too late doesn't repair anything. Meanwhile, Sterling Group was falling apart. The consequences of Evelyn's choices finally reached her. The investors who once trusted Sterling Group started leaving. Business partners questioned her decisions. The board demanded explanations. And for the first time in years, Evelyn Sterling was no longer the woman everyone followed. She was the woman everyone questioned. I received a call from my assistant. Mr. Steele. Yes? Sterling Group's stock dropped again today. I looked at the report. And he hesitated. Some people believe Steele International should acquire them. I closed the document. No. My assistant sounded surprised. No. No acquisition. But Mr. Steele, financially, it would be beneficial. I knew he was right. Sterling Group was vulnerable. If I wanted to destroy them, I could. One decision. One announcement. And Evelyn's family empire would disappear. But I didn't want that. Not anymore. Leave them alone. My assistant was quiet. Are you sure? Yes. Why? I looked at the window. Because despite everything, I still remembered the woman I loved. The woman before everything fell apart. Their mistakes are theirs. I said, I don't need to become someone I hate. A week later, Evelyn came to Steele International again. This time, she didn't have an appointment. Security stopped her. But when I heard her name, I allowed her inside. I didn't know why. Maybe a part of me still wanted closure. When she entered my office, she looked exhausted. Not physically, emotionally. The confident CEO image was gone. She looked like someone who finally realized she had lost control. Dominic. I nodded. Evelyn. She looked around. Then back at me. You really built all of this. I smiled slightly. No. She looked confused. What? My family built it. I paused. I just spent years trying to prove I could live without it. She lowered her eyes. I understand now. I looked at her. Do you? She nodded. Yes. Then tell me. She looked at me. What? Tell me what you understand. She took a deep breath. That I was wrong. I waited. She continued. I thought you were someone who needed me. A pause. But the truth was, her voice became quieter. I was the one who needed you. I said nothing, because those words would have meant everything months ago. Now they were just words. She walked closer. Dominic, I know I don't deserve forgiveness. I looked at her. No. She looked surprised. I continued. You don't. Her eyes became red. But I want you to know something. She waited. I don't hate you. A small amount of hope appeared in her eyes. Then I finished. But I don't love you anymore. The hope disappeared. She looked down. Is there really no chance? I stayed silent. Because once upon a time, I would have said yes. I would have forgiven everything. I would have accepted every apology. Because I loved her. But that version of me was gone. I spent 3 years choosing you. I said, every argument, every problem, every time someone questioned us, I chose you. I looked at her. But when I needed you to choose me, you chose someone else. Tears appeared in her eyes. I made a mistake. Yes. I nodded. You did. People make mistakes. They do. I looked at her. But some mistakes cost them everything. That evening, my grandfather invited me to dinner. He noticed immediately. You saw her. I nodded. Yes. And I looked at my hands. She apologized. My grandfather waited. And did it help? I thought about it. No. He nodded. Good. I looked at him. Good? Yes. He took a sip of coffee. Because forgiveness and returning are two different things. I stayed silent. He continued. You can forgive someone and still choose yourself. Those words stayed with me. Because for so long, I thought letting go meant losing. I was wrong. Sometimes letting go means finally respecting yourself. A month later, Steel International announced a major expansion. New investments. New technology projects. New partnerships. The company reached new heights. The media called me the hidden billionaire who returned stronger. I hated the title. Because I wasn't hiding anymore. I was just living. One evening, I attended a charity event. For the first time in months, I saw Evelyn again. She looked different. Not because of her clothes. Not because of her appearance. Because she was quieter. She wasn't trying to control the room anymore. She saw me. For a moment, we just looked at each other. Then she walked over. Dominic. Evelyn. She smiled sadly. I heard about the expansion. Thank you. I'm happy for you. I nodded. Thank you. She hesitated. Then asked, do you remember what you told me when we first met? I thought about it. What? You said everyone sees Evelyn Sterling. She looked at me. But you saw Evelyn. I was silent. She smiled sadly. You were the only person who did. I looked at her. And you were the only person who made me regret trusting someone. She accepted that. Because she knew it was true. Before she left, she asked, are you happy now? I thought about it. About everything I lost. Everything I gained. Then I answered, yes. She nodded. I'm glad. I watched her walk away. And for the first time, I didn't feel pain. Because I finally understood. My happiness was never supposed to depend on whether Evelyn Sterling loved me. It was supposed to depend on whether I loved myself enough to walk away. That night, Michael called me. Dominic. Yes? We found something. What? There was hesitation in his voice. Something about Evelyn's family. I frowned. What kind of something? It's connected to why Evelyn protected Adrian so strongly. I became serious. What do you mean? Michael paused. Dominic. There's a part of the story you don't know. I stood up. What part? His voice became lower. The reason Evelyn chose Adrian. It wasn't just about feelings. I froze. What are you saying? I'm saying there's something bigger behind all of this. I looked outside. After everything I had learned, I thought the truth was finally over. But apparently, I was wrong. Because the biggest secret of my marriage had not been revealed yet. For a long time, I believed the end of my marriage would be the most painful moment of my life. I was wrong. The hardest part was realizing that the person I loved the most had never truly known me. Evelyn Sterling spent 3 years standing beside me. But she never stood with me. There was a difference. Standing beside someone means you are there when things are easy. Standing with someone means you choose them when everything falls apart. And when my world collapsed, Evelyn chose someone else. After Michael told me there was more behind Adrian's actions, I immediately asked him to investigate. Not because I wanted Evelyn back. That part of me was gone. I wanted the truth. Because after everything that happened, I refused to believe my marriage had been destroyed by a simple misunderstanding. There had to be a reason. There had to be something Evelyn was hiding. 2 days later, Michael came into my office with a thick file. He placed it on my desk. Dominic. I looked at him. What did you find? He didn't answer immediately. That alone told me it was serious. Evelyn and Adrian knew each other before you. I frowned. I already know that. Yes. He opened the file. But you don't know how deep it went. I looked at the documents. What is this? 6 years ago, before you met Evelyn, Sterling Group was almost bankrupt. I looked up. Impossible. Michael nodded. That's what everyone thought. He continued. Richard Sterling hid the problem from the public. The company was losing money, investors were leaving, and several major projects failed. I read through the documents. Then I saw Adrian's name. I froze. Adrian? Michael nodded. He was involved. How? He helped restructure some of Sterling Group's financial problems. I looked at him. So Adrian saved the company? Not exactly. Michael pushed another document toward me. He created the problem first. I stared at the evidence. Adrian had secretly moved company funds through several fake investment accounts. Then, after Sterling Group was desperate, he appeared as the person who could solve the crisis. He created a problem, then became the hero who fixed it. A classic manipulation tactic. I leaned back. So Evelyn knew? Michael hesitated. That's the part we're still trying to confirm. I looked at him. What do you mean? She knew Adrian helped Sterling Group survive. But she didn't know he caused the problem? Most likely. I was silent. Because suddenly everything became more complicated. Evelyn wasn't innocent. But maybe she wasn't completely aware either. That night, I went to see Evelyn. Not as her husband. Not as someone hoping to repair our relationship. I went because I needed answers. She opened the door and looked surprised. Dominic? Can we talk? She hesitated, then stepped aside. Yes. I walked inside. For a moment, everything felt familiar. The same place where we once planned our future. The same place where I thought I belonged. But now it felt like someone else's home. Evelyn noticed my expression. You haven't been here in a long time. I know. Silence followed. Then I asked, did you know about Adrian? Her face changed. What do you mean? Did you know he was involved in Sterling Group's financial problems years ago? She froze. That reaction was enough. You knew something. She looked away. Dominic. Answer me. She took a deep breath. I knew he helped my family. That's not what I asked. Her silence confirmed it. I nodded. How much did you know? I knew he had connections. Connections? I laughed. You're still protecting him. No. You are. She looked at me. I'm not trying to protect him. Then why can't you say the truth? She lowered her head. Because she knew. Finally, she spoke. When I was younger, Adrian helped my father. Helped him? Yes. She looked at me. My father trusted him. And you? She was quiet. I thought he cared about our family. I nodded slowly. So when he needed you, you protected him. She looked at me. Yes. I smiled sadly. That's the difference between us. What? When someone needed you, you remembered what they did for you. I paused. When I needed you, you forgot everything I did for you. Her eyes became red. That's not fair. No. I shook my head. It isn't. Because I gave you more than I ever gave anyone. She sat down. For the first time, I saw regret on her face. Real regret. Not fear. Not because she lost money. Not because she lost status. Because she finally understood what she had done. Dominic. I looked at her. I'm sorry. I heard those words many times. From her. From others. But this time, I didn't feel anything. I know. She looked surprised. You know? Yes. I nodded. I believe you're sorry. Then why can't you forgive me? I looked at her. Because forgiveness doesn't mean returning. She wiped her tears. Do you hate me? No. Then what do you feel? I thought about it. Then answered honestly. Nothing. That hurt her more than anger would have. Because anger meant I still cared. Nothing meant I had finally let go. A month later, Adrian's trial began. The evidence was undeniable. During the hearing, his lawyers tried to argue that he was only trying to protect Sterling Group. The judge asked, Mr. Cole, why did you transfer company funds through unauthorized accounts? Adrian remained silent. For the first time, he had no explanation. The man who always had a story finally had nothing to say. After the trial, Adrian was sentenced. Sterling Group survived. Barely. But Evelyn refused to leave. Many people expected her to step down. The board wanted new leadership, but she stayed. Not because she wanted power, because she wanted to fix what was broken. Several months passed. My life changed completely. Steel International expanded internationally. My name appeared on business magazines. People called me one of the most influential young CEOs in America. But none of that mattered as much as one thing. I was finally at peace. One evening, I received an invitation. A charity event. I almost declined. But I went. And I saw Evelyn. She was standing alone. Not surrounded by executives. Not surrounded by people trying to impress her. Just Evelyn. The woman I once loved. She saw me. Then walked over. Dominic. I nodded. Evelyn. She smiled slightly. You look happy. I am. She nodded. I'm glad. There was a long silence. Then she said, I used to think losing you meant losing my company. I looked at her. But I was wrong. She looked down. I lost something much bigger. I didn't answer. Because I knew what she meant. She lost someone who loved her without conditions. Before leaving, she asked, Do you ever miss me? I looked at her. A year ago, that question would have destroyed me. Now, it didn't. I miss who you were when I first met you. Her eyes softened. What about who I am now? I smiled. That person is someone I don't know anymore. She nodded, accepting the answer. As I walked away, I realized something. For years, I thought my greatest victory would be making Evelyn regret losing me. But I was wrong. My greatest victory was no longer needing her regret. Because the moment I stopped waiting for her to choose me, I chose myself. Years later, people would ask me, Do you regret hiding your identity? I always gave the same answer. No. Because if I had revealed everything from the beginning, I might never have known the truth. I might have spent my entire life wondering, did she love Dominic? Or did she love Steele? Now I knew. And that knowledge gave me freedom. Evelyn Sterling once had the heart of Dominic Steele. She lost it because she thought she had better options. But life taught her the lesson I had to learn. Some people don't realize the value of something while they have it. They only understand after it's gone. And by then, it's too late.